Yo, we're back. Thursday night, ready to stream. Still tired as all heck, but we're here. And yeah, so it should have another cool stream. Gonna do something very similar to yesterday, just chill. But yeah, happy to like answer questions and all that kind of stuff. Talk some shit. And the rest of it. So let's get in. I have first, as always, an old painting that slaps. So today's old painting that slaps, I'll show you now. It is the Execution of Lady Jane Grey by Paul Delarouche. This painting is huge. It's kind of, I want to say it's like almost life size. It's pretty damn big. It is also in the National Gallery here in London. So I've seen this many a time. And yeah, it is insanely well painted. The materials on it are very well executed, and yeah, it's just a real delight to look at. There's almost like no visible brushwork. You know, it's very much. Hey yo, Sarah, what up? Thank you for the resub. It's very sweet of you. Yeah, so the finish on it is flawless, right? I usually I'm like less drawn to paintings that are kind of flawlessly executed like this. Just as a personal thing, I like brush strokes, you know, and that kind of look. But it is so well done that yeah, I do really enjoy it. All of this, all the patterning on the fabrics, all the different fabrics that there are as well. Like you can really tell the difference between each of these materials. It's crazy well painted on the technical side, but yeah, on the emotional side of it, it's pretty hectic. This is kind of, you know, almost like a kind of a fatherly embrace, right? It's kind of like a father, you know, helping a child with something, but then it's, you know, essentially to put one's head on the chopping block. Yeah, it's pretty harrowing. Gotta say, emotional impact. I find the hands incredible. They really feel like they're floating in 3D space and searching for the block. Yeah, indeed. And just sort of how delicate it all is. Yeah, I really like the contrast here as well. Like you have the block. You know, it's very hard, you know, geometric shape, darker in value, and then above that you have like the contrast of the block, the dress, and the hand, but just how soft and delicate and everything the hand is versus just how, like, you know, stark and hard that is. Like that, this part of the painting has storytelling in and of itself just here, but it's obviously extended out to the whole thing. Yeah, really insane. So much tension. Yeah, exactly. And you know, you have this sort of executioner looking down, this dude, whoever he is, looking down, you know, sort of excising her fate, right? And then these two ladies in the background who are both looking out and away It's like there is only she's only seen by these two, if that makes sense. But yeah, crazy good painting. If you're ever at the National Gallery in Trafalgar Square in London, this painting is there. It's like, pretty sure it's on permanent display. It's really good. Definitely go and look at it. Yeah, and you also get this absolute thirst trap of a executioner here in his red joggers. Just exquisite legs. You know, most people would kill for legs like this. My man's got them, and a dope hat as well. So can't go wrong. Hope you're doing well. What a gorgeous piece. So many elements, but everything reads so clear. Yeah, exactly. Oh my god, I can't believe I haven't seen it in person before. We'll definitely look for that. You can't miss it, honestly. I don't know how you've missed it if you've been in it. Yeah, it's on like permanent display, I'm pretty sure. Legs for days, that one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, executioner's dripped out, sick hat. You know, cool joggers. Lady Jane, also dripped out, about to meet her unfortunate demise. Yeah, excellent painting. So that's today's painting that slaps. It's a good one. So what we're going to do today, I cheated a little bit. I already started drawing, but what are you going to do? Sue me. I left the drawing rough though, so we can continue it here. But I'm going to do something very similar to what we did yesterday. Yesterday we did this from scratch. We started sketching and then did everything from scratch on here. Yeah, it was quite fun. It's quite relaxing. I'm very tired. I don't have the energy to be doing anything crazy, so just staying in the comfort zone right now. So yeah, I'm going to do this guy. He's going to be, going through the city with loads of fast food, loads of takeaways. That's it. There's going to be burgers. There's going to be whatever else. I'll take some suggestions a bit later as to exactly what there's going to be in here. But there's definitely going to be burgers. I had a burger last night. The ideal delivery guy. Yeah, I was like, what shall I call him? And Daisy suggested that he could be called Super Eats, as in like Uber Eats, but Super Eats. I'm like, that's pretty good. So, Super Eats. I imagine this dude actually doesn't care about being a superhero in any way. Like he doesn't want to care for people or like help people or anything. He's just into takeaway food. And stealing it, maybe, I don't know. Just getting into trouble around town with takeaways. That's his jam. I called him Beezchurger, but that doesn't really mean anything. All right, yeah. So we'll just get a bit of sketching going. Obviously, you do get ripped like this if you just have takeaways. So just to bear that in mind. Then we'll have a bit more like motion going on in this one as well, because because he's like careening through town. And you know, I have to try and bust out my anatomy knowledge. But yeah, how is everyone? Null point pen. Love the overlapping of the pose. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, foreshortening do be the thing. I really love drawing foreshortened poses. I do it a lot. I think it was one of those things that kind of, before I was able to do it, I guess, was like something that really drew me into certain illustrations, was foreshortening, because it is very dynamic, you know. Hang on, I'm just gonna put this music's buzzing me out. Let's put something a bit more low key on it. Person screaming in my ear. So, Sarah, where you been? What you been up to? What's going on? I'm also trying to design the shapes stylistically. You know, we talked about it yesterday quite a bit. How to go about maybe practicing stylized shapes, but still understanding anatomy to a certain degree. Need to get my ass back down to live drawing. Do some more studies, but do studies like in a stylized way, not drawing exactly what's in front of me. I think that's basically the key to learning how to do stylized anatomy, is to draw what's in front of you, as in observe from real life, but stylize the execution, pick things to exaggerate, or go in with like some body types in mind that you're going to draw, and just use the person as a reference and not, you know, everything. I've been addicted to Kingdom Come Deliverance while fixing my PC, working on some fan art of it at the moment. Oh, very nice. Very nice. That always happens to me too as well. If I get into a video game, eventually that becomes like, oh, okay, I'm just going to do some fan art of that video game instead. Have you seen Spaghetti Vel'Koz yet? It's so Alex Heath coded Spaghetti Vel'Koz. Let's have a look at this. Spaghettiville cars. Oh shit, mate! Why didn't they call me up? Hell yeah. Funny, yeah, I like it. I like it. This is like not a skin that I would ever buy in game. I'm just looking at the in-game one on my other screen here. It looks kind of pale, but yeah, artwork wise, very nice. It's got, I like. It low-key has some of the best animations. Oh, nice. I'll have to check them out. All right, big time hand. Let's get it. So we talked about hands the other day. How to draw hands. How to actually, to be more specific, what shorthand to use, no pun intended, to enable you to draw hands in the position that you want. So yesterday's piece on the VOD. Oh yeah, this one. Cheers. Gonna do something very similar with this. It was a good fun. Bit long. Here he is. And then we're going to have a burger. So, yeah, I had a burger yesterday. I know everyone has been waiting patiently to know how that went. It was really good. Yeah, not disappointed. It was the right choice. Yeah, really great decision by myself. Can't fault it. Just excellent decision making all around, really. So we're going to have some lettuce in there. Patty. Double patty. There's some pickles hanging out. Bottom patty in here. Cheese. Yeah. There's the burger. Yeah, we'll have like other fast food going around. I imagine he's like I said, he's a demon for it. Clean line. There we go. Just making sure I'm aware of where these planes are on the head. Let's give this a little bit more curvature. Such a sucker for that arch line from the elbow to the pinky, trying to practice gesture lines. Yeah. Yep. With with gesture, it's one of those things that is based on something that you're looking at, right? But you have to make the connection a lot of the time, and like stylizing that gesture or prolonging it, is kind of the key to flow, if you like. And making the choice to like break it at a certain point or follow it again at a certain point becomes a big part of stylization, For example, what I like doing is, if I have a side of the form that is quite busy, so on the back here we have like, low point, low point, low point, low point, low point, low point. Then what I'll try and do is make the other side a lot simpler, so that you have like a busy side and a smooth side. So on this side we have like much bigger, kind of more flowing, unbroken lines, and on this side we have a bit more detail, and it's kind of like, doing a bit of a push and pull on either side, and with that, trying to, I guess, keep that rhythm, going through here, and then using like angle breaks to kind of make that a bit more interesting, but overall trying to just play with the rhythm of it as if it was, a tune. Sometimes you want that just to be the kind of very simple thing, and other times you want to add a bit of like nuance or change of direction, or bit of a beat. And I think you kind of just have to trust your eye for certain things, I think you'll develop your own sort of taste for like what is and isn't good, for certain things. But like here, for example, there's lots of these low points on the back, as I pointed out, but I keep them kind of subtle, and the overall gesture is still, still this. Okay, let's do like a kind of final lines kind of thing. There won't be like final lines, because I don't really do that. The pen tool is my kind of final line. But these will be helpful kind of marks to follow. Give me a little bit more of a less of an area. There's like kind of a small amount of like ambiguity with thicker lines, where it's like, where do you place the line that you're after? Whereas if I just do something a little thinner, it's like lessening the space in which that happens. This guy got a big chest. He's hench. So yeah, give him. Whoa. Dinky foreshortened legs. Is always the thing with foreshortening, is kind of like, you got to trust the overlaps. You got to trust, like, you know, something like this. You're seeing it on such a wide angle lens that everything gets really distorted. You got to look at a lot of stuff to understand that, and then kind of trust it when you're drawing it, because it feels wrong. But you know, if you pose a mannequin in like Blender, and then you put the lens, get the camera and put the lens on it down to like 10 degrees, you'll see exactly this kind of stuff. You just got to look at it a lot to understand it, I think. Until I messed around in 3D, you know, with a really wide lens on a camera, and sort of really saw the difference in distortion that you get. I mean, I can show you quickly after this. You do get a much better appreciation for this kind of thing. You'd be surprised what just changing like the lens will do. Yeah, I'll open up Blender after this real quick so you can see what I mean. And yeah, I've been looking at a lot of drawings from Ryan Otley as well, who's a comic artist working on Invincible. He's got a really, really nice stylized anatomy. He does like the forearm quite like this. So I got a lot of that stuff in my head right now. But yeah, the forearm's a cool one. I like the sort of shape change in the forearm and the insertions. It's one of my more favorite bits of anatomy to draw. Something that I'm like quite bad at, which I'm trying to work on, is like connection of like shoulders. Okay, there's this dude. Let's hit save on him. Nice, thanks for the recommendation. You're welcome. Okay, yeah, give me 1 sec. I'll open up a Blender and I'll show you. Show you how it works with the lens. Import. Okay, here we go. So I have this 3D model here, right? Posed, mannequin, boom, very nice. And yeah, we have this here. So if I get the camera, let's look through the camera, and I'll fly up to this. Okay, and I look at this as such, right? So this camera currently has a 50mm lens, right? Which is like a telephoto lens. Flattens out perspective quite a bit. You would use this to, like, you know, take photos from a long way away. And this flattens out perspective quite a bit, you know. So as you can see here, yeah, I'm like quite close to the foot, but the relative size of the foot and the head doesn't change proportion that much. You know, the foot is about as big as the head, right? And even if I get super close to this foot, the difference in size relative foot and head doesn't change an awful lot. The perspective is kind of flat, right? I'm like right in front of the leg here, and it's still not that large, right? But if I start to make the lens smaller, so let's take like 25 degrees of this. Now this is quite a wide angle lens, right? And I'm still the same distance away. Okay, I'm still the same distance away as the 50mm lens, but now the subject appears much further away, right? The camera is still. I've just changed the lens on it. Okay. So now I'm able to get like a lot closer to the subject. But now do you see how dramatic that foreshortening becomes. Like this. Yo, hello, WGDR1993 on YouTube. Hello. And let's put this on like a 10-degree lens. Again, camera's in the same spot that it just was, right? Now look at this. Insane foreshortening. Yeah. Insane. So if let's put the camera like just in front of the hand here. Like this. And then I change the lens back. Sorry, I changed the lens back to 50. You see, we're like right in front of the hand here. And on a 50-degree lens, this is what this looks like. I have to go all the way back out to see the entire figure again. Like this. So let's try this. I will put this lens like this right basically on the toe of the figure. Okay, and we can have a quick look if this actually is on the toe. Okay, so the camera here is right in front of the foot. Okay, it is like a foot in front of the foot. All right, so what happens? Look what happens as I change the lens here. The wider the lens gets, the more of the thing we have in frame. Now, bearing in mind, the camera's not moving backwards here. I've just changed the lens. So look, I'm on a 10mm lens here. Let me come out of the camera. You can see the lens is in the same position. I've just changed the aperture of the camera. You see this? And that's what's happening. So you can see massive changes on the foreshortening. So from this, what can we intuit, right? We can intuit that the lens that I'm looking at this through is a very wide lens. It's probably like 10 or 15 millimeters. And yeah, this is how you can sort of set that up in Blender. You just change the camera proportions, the camera lens, and then you can, set stuff up like this to look at and practice, and just trying to understand what happens, because the lens makes a big difference. So also on a wider lens, straight lines will curve the closer you get to the edge of the frame, which is also another thing to consider. So here, if I was to draw like straight lines, like this, towards the center of the lens, let's say it's like here, straight lines will appear straight like this, but the further out we go, they will start to do this. And if you have a really wide lens, at the edges, they're going to properly curve over and out like that. So when wrong layer, shoot. When I'm drawing something like this, I need to be aware of those phenomena, if you like. But yeah, obviously you don't see like that in real life unless you're looking through a lens like that. So I do find, 3D very helpful to visualize that stuff. Very difficult otherwise. You can be told it, as I was, like a million times. This happens on this lens. But until you actually see it and muck around with it, and then you're like, oh, okay, I know what they mean. I know what's being said here. Then it starts to make sense a bit more. Okay, so let's get a bit of a flat shape for this guy in the scene. And, oh shit, I need to draw the burger. Bloody hell. Bloody hell. But yeah, it took me ages to figure out, and it's 3D is definitely the best way to kind of view that stuff and really sort of understand it, because you can change the lens and look at it yourself, set it up the way you want, and then study from that. And then it's quite an interesting task to sort of take something like a model of a photo of a person in a pose, any pose, and then try and reimagine it through that lens. We're going to have pickles flying out. It's always felt very abstract to me, like math rules or something, very helpful to see the changes in real time like that. Yeah, I think perspective on paper, you really got to have the kind of mind for it. Never really worked for me to see things like that. And like it did semi-click, drawing boxes on an equirectangular grid, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of changing in this manner. But yeah, it's something else to actually see it change in real time. And just like the difference between like taking a portrait picture in like your phone camera versus like a telephoto lens, you look entirely different because of the curvature of the lens. The lens really wide and really small to fit in your phone, so it distorts everything really badly. So the way you look in a phone selfie is not the way you look at all. It is distorted massively, spherized, basically. Okay, this guy is after the burger. Let's get some flats going, and then we'll get into some color. Flats, pen tool. Let's go. yeah, I was saying this yesterday. I don't tend to do clean line work because the flats kind of function as that. The pen tool rather selects a really clean line. So there's no point me like drawing a super clean line. I can just sort of pick within my lines like where that line's going to be. You know, is it the outside, the inside, somewhere in between? And this works for me. Like I said, this is about as clean as my line work ever goes. And he's quick with it. Boy's got wheels. Yeah, bomb. Okay, flat. Number one, done. Burger, flat. Let's go. Smashing it, exactly. What we got? Oh, we got plenty of time. Plenty of time. I don't need to be really neat with these burger ones because I'll just kind of freestyle the burger probably, but it'll give me a starting point. The fuck? Okay, cool. No matter. All the flying stuff, gherkins and that, we'll do afterwards. All right, let's get a photo. We want city lights at night. Let's go with that. How did you make your layer thumbnails stay close up to the content? Oh, these. There is a setting. Here. If you right click on the layer, you can like change these. And then if you go on clip thumbnails to layer bounds, that means that, yeah, it stays close up to the stuff on there. If you do this, then it's the entire document and it just shows you like where that is in the document. But if you have it like this, it shows you just what's in there. Adore. So whereas I used that one yesterday a bit more directly, I'm going to use this one much more as just a color palette. Because he's in motion, so do a bit of like kind of stylized sort of warping, if you like. We do not want that brush. So much better. Yeah, exactly. You can just, at a glance, have a bit more of an idea of what's on the layer. I do prefer that. So I'm just color picking from this. Like I said, I'm using this background picture much less literally than I did yesterday, and I want that sky color too. And yesterday we very, very literally used the reference and just sort of changed it a bit. This I'm going to just use it as a palette. It's like I said, this guy's in motion, right? But like we're following his motion, and the background is static, so it's going to blur. And then what we'll also do is get another city lights at night picture. City lights, buildings. I just want like the windows, basically. Yes, something like this is perfect. Perfecto. And we'll put this on screen. And then what I want to do is pull down the darks loads. So this is basically turning the darks to black, which makes them invisible on this mode. And then I can isolate the lights even more by bringing the lights up, but they look pretty good already. And now I'm not going to use all the lights. I just want a few. So I do this. I would like to get a bit of filter, blur, radial blur, zoom, and then when you get this little thing up here, this is your image, right? And it's kind of silly that it comes up as a square and not your canvas size, but right now this is going to like radiate out from the center, but I want it to radiate out from like here. Okay, where the horizon is. So that is about, it's on one of the thirds and is about just less than halfway up. So I need to take this like over here basically. And that way when I hit OK, that is radiating out from the right point. Otherwise it'll be in the wrong place. Yep. Stick with me, mate. And then if I paint into this with black, I can like disappear stuff that I don't want. Get rid of all those actually, and then yeah, Photoshop's a bit funny like that. That like I guess they just stopped developing certain tools past a certain point. So it has this really like unintuitive UI element to it where you're like, wait, it does what? You can move it? You're like, yeah. I'm just sort of playing into that motion here with some brush strokes that symbolize like the gaps between cars and stuff like that. Pick out some edges here and there. Okay, a little bit of multiply. Just kind of vignette this a little bit. And we can come back and mess around with the background a little bit too, but I like to start with the background here because it gives us our environment, and then that means choosing our colors, choosing our lights. We have something to key against. I'm just using vivid light here to just punch up the glow of this, but I might come back and put a few more sort of like traces and street lights in there. Get rid of some of these still, I think. We're going to go filter gallery. I'm on paint daubs already here. And this filter is nice for kind of unifying the look of everything. So what I mean is like here, you know, we have a mixture of like the photos, some brush strokes, softer brushes, harder brushes, etc., etc., right? But if I use that filter, it now gives everything the same finish. It is all got this kind of brush stroke. Well, it says brush stroke, but it's not really. But it's got this kind of brush stroke kind of feel to it, and everything has that same look. So now it's much more unified. So previously it has a bit of everything going on, and now it has a more unified look to it. And this is helpful in the painting. We did that with this yesterday to take out the pixelation from the photo. And it then fits much nicer in a sort of a stylized painting because it matches the fidelity, if you like. Chavis's, thank you. Hello. Yes, the burger has returned. He's actually after a burger here. More burgers. Anyway, that's kind of enough background stuff. We have enough for what we need for now. How was yours last night? Mine was 6 out of 10. Dude, sorry to hear it was only a 6 out of 10 for you. Mine was... Wow. So good. They don't disappoint at the burger place that I ordered from. They are craftsmen. Craftsman. So jealous. Yeah, it was good. Real good. Not to rub it in, but it was brill. Let's see. What markings should this guy have? It's Spider Burger. Maybe he's got like... I will rewatch to catch the background work later, but did you use the same technique as yesterday? A little bit different, slightly different than yesterday. Similar starting point, but it's much more painted this time. Instead of using the photo quite literally and just sort of using the filter on it, we actually use the photo more as a palette and then paint into it, because this one is in motion basically. So I'm just thinking of like the markings on the suit being able to maybe help us in a way with the foreshortening. It reminds me of an orca. Yeah. Just gotta make sure the markings like don't betray the form in any way, which can be hard. Not entirely convinced with the markings just yet, but we'll see. Yeah, this is how I got home yesterday. I was like, "Get me home. Must have burger." All right, whatever with the markings. I gotta move on. Light time. Let's get some lights on this bad boy. So what do we do? Linear dodge, add, double click, transparency layer shapes, boom, off. We here. We're rocking. Ooh. Didn't really think about going darker with them, but then could be nice. We'll see. We'll leave the dark ones on there for now. Actually, no, we'll leave the lighter ones on there for now. Juicy. We're going to like finesse the shape of this light. Trust. I'm just sort of blocking it in for now. Boom. Okay, let's get a quick light on the Beezchurger here. Yummy. Same thing. Burgers. Okay. And then I do want another light in the scene, the orange from the bottom. And we'll paint this in a sec. I'm just blocking it in here for now. All right. Oh, God. And again, I'm just blocking this in for now. Seeing how I want that to work. Like, do I want it on this? I guess that makes sense. It's there. The strength of it and everything we will sort out in a sec. I'm just placing it for now. Basically, just sorting out like what planes is it on, and then we can sort out like what shape that is. And how strong we want it and all of that. But right now it's just about placement. Oh, let's hit save, shall we? Okay, so now we've got the placement of the light sorted. Now we can concern ourselves with edge. And the edges, what form is that light on, and how quickly or slowly does that edge turn away from the light? And that will give us the edge of our light. And that will basically tell us what the form is. So rounder forms are going to have a softer edge as they turn away from the light. You know, the squarer the form gets, the harder that edge is going to be. And then we need to have a hierarchy of edges. So ideally you don't want two edges that are turning away from the light at different rates having the same edge profile, the same softness. Because if you do that, you know, our eye intuits form this way. So if you do that, you're telling the eye these two things are the same roundness. These two edges are the same. And you can get away with like being a bit inaccurate about that, but if you do it all over the place with no kind of hierarchy, your forms are going to look very strange, and that's going to be confusing to the viewer. Because this is quite literally how we see, right? This is how we know without touching something that, oh, that's going to be sharp, or that's going to be soft, and so on. is we interpret, how the light plays on it. And then, we've obviously learnt through touch and so on to associate, a soft edge with something rounder and softer, hard edge with something harder, and so on. So we have a very clear and intuitive understanding of form based on edge, like edge quality and light quality. So you got to get that stuff somewhat correct in the painting. So, well, here, for example, just make a new layer. This edge turns quite quickly over the side of the head, right? So it has this transitionary width. This is like full light, and this is full shadow, and this is the width of that edge. And you see here, as that tightens, gets closer to a sharper edge, so does the thickness of this. Now if you look at this form, the back of the tricep rolling over the shoulder, much wider, so full light, full shadow, this transitionary area, much larger. So this tells my eye that this is a slower turning, softer form than this is. And if I keep that kind of hierarchy going throughout the piece, all the forms should read in relation to each other how they should. But if I start messing around with that hierarchy and putting edges on things that are much sharper where there isn't a sharper edge, it's going to get very confusing very quickly. But for example, this stylized anatomy, right, it's going to have harder edges than you would expect in certain places. But that's okay. That's part of the stylization, and we just pick up on that. The line work in and of itself has that stylization to it. So we understand the forms. Hang on. But yeah, if you've ever wondered why something looks kind of strange to you in your painting, like a form, you can't really work it out. 9 times out of 10, it's got the wrong edge, the wrong edge profile. So it's just being picked up by the eye as being like sharper than it should be or rounder than it should be. And usually this comes in conjunction with other things as well. So this will then usually be somewhere that you get muddy colors as well, because you'll be transitioning too quickly or too slowly from light to dark in an area, and quite often that will then mean that you have transitioned like from warm to cool too dramatically as well. So you'll get a kind of muddy area. So all of these things kind of play in together, but like you can give the form a very strange look by giving it the wrong edge. And then that kind of compounds this idea that like you're then going to have the wrong temperature on it as well, because you've turned from dark to light too quick. So your colors will have cooled off real dramatically also in that area. And again, that causes this kind of disconnect. So you can see each area kind of selecting out each muscle now. I put the initial marks down to be like, okay, this is where light's going to go. And now I'm back there and I'm actually putting the right shape that I want there. So I just lasso that area out so I can paint freely, do large strokes, and then I put down the edge that I want. And then, you know, if I turn the line work off, it's like, boom, nice and clean, nice and clear. And with all of these shapes, I'm trying to move the eye nicely through them. So most of these shapes will change width, width along their length. So they'll go from like thick to thin, and so on. This means that, you know, the eye likes following shapes, right? And if you go from thick to thin, the eye sort of interprets that as a direction, as a journey. So all of these shapes, I'm going to have this kind of thick to thin motion going on, and it gives the painting a lot of energy and movement. Everything appears to be sort of tapering under itself and over into the next bit, and so on and so forth. And this, you know, I've mentioned it a lot when I'm painting, but this is the sort of the meta-analysis of what I like about certain styles and painting and so on. You know, I like a certain amount of like brush economy and sort of efficiency, and that in turn has kind of led me into this whole idea of like flow within shapes and the sort of abstract graphic design of the painting itself as strokes, and like what direction they draw the eye in and which way they make you look and follow through in the piece. Okay, so that's the blue light, maybe. Nice. Okay, now quickly save this. What's our time? Oh man, we are a bit slower today. Let's do this orange light then. I've put everyone to sleep. My dull voice. Taking mental notes. Okay. Ultra flow state. All right, shit. Damn, everyone's locked. Everyone's friggin' locked. I guess you could shorten it to edge defines form. Okay? Is the thing to remember. Edge defines form. If you have a soft edge, you have a rounder form. Okay? And that is the TLDR of it. Exactly. And to like go along with this, if you have a cylinder, you know, in a piece, you know, a cylinder turns at a constant rate around one surface, right? If you have a cylinder that is larger than this first cylinder that we're talking about in your piece, the larger cylinder is going to have a softer edge than the smaller cylinder. And this is how kind of it first started to make sense to me. The larger cylinder will appear to have a softer edge transition on it. And the larger, you know, the bigger you get, the softer that's going to go. So even though they're the same form, the size of it determines the softness of the edge. Wait, like with light, where the bigger the light spread, the more diffused. Yeah, hang on. I'll go here. If you've got two cylinders, one like this, and one like this, under the same light. So there's a light here coming in from this direction. Okay, under the same light, these will appear to have different edges on them. This one will be like this, right? This one like this. Why is that? There's more surface area. Okay. The form is larger. It's therefore turning away from the light source slower. So here the transitionary area between like full light and full shadow, the termination edge is much larger than it appears here. Okay, so this is why this looks like a thinner edge. We still appreciate that they're both cylinders, but we know that this cylinder is smaller than this cylinder because of this reason. It's a bit like the difference between your finger and your forearm, or your finger and your bicep, right? Under the same light source, you're going to have a sharper edge on your finger than you are on the bicep relative to its size. And that's how we can still tell it's round even if it's small. Okay, how long we got? Half an hour. Oof. Oof. Oh, okay. Sticking with that. Sticking with that. All right. So I'm putting in here essentially a bit of like ambient occlusion, separation of forms out. I might change the value of it like once it's in there, but I generally like to put it in a little bit darker to begin with, and then dial it back. But essentially functioning as a kind of termination edge here to round my forms out. But like I said, the value of it I will adjust once it's in. So it's a little bit dark right now, and I might even put some color in it. But I like to put these things in a bit darker just to see it in the beginning. And this is really going to make the forms all like pop from each other. Give me that muscle definition, yeah. Let's get a little bit of shadow on the serratus there. Serratus anterior is like, well, I think one of the cooler muscle names, but it's actually one of the cooler looking muscles as well. That's sort of a group of muscles that combs into each other on the side of a rib cage, like that. And it's called the serratus anterior, and it's pretty dope. Pretty much like one of my favorite muscles. Like if I had to have a top 10, it would probably be number 1. Strong character muscle group. Yeah, exactly. You're rather partial to a sternocleidomastoid. Yeah. Here. Connects. Pit the neck. Boom. That's a good one. That's a good one. Real good. Brachioradialis as well. Sounds like a dinosaur. Big in the game. Big muscle, yeah? Do you know what one I always thought sounded really like grand as well? The Great Trochanter. Prestigious muscle. A couple of years back, I injured my leg, went to the doc and was describing what muscles I thought were strained. And they were like, "Are you a med student?" I was like, "No, an artist." That's quite funny. Are you studying the medical profession by any chance? Like, no. No, no. I'm an artiste. Casual muscle knowledge. I only draw problems. I don't heal them. Yeah, well, you don't want to be part of the problem, do you? You want to be the entire problem, really. Be the entire problem. That's how I live my life. Don't just be part of it. Okay. It's color dodge time. Oh, what? Photoshop just crashed. Hang on. How much did we lose? Oh. Yeah, I didn't save it too long ago. I think I saved it 15 minutes ago. So, but maybe autosave. Maybe autosave got it. Interesting. Let's see. No autosave. Bastard. What a bastard. Okay, we are back here. It didn't the ambient occlusion. Oh, no, we're all the way back at the orange light. So I've just finished the blue light. And now we're back at the orange light. Wow, what a bastard that is. Oh yeah, don't worry. I'll just do it again. It's not ultimately not a problem. It just means we do it better this time, you know. Autosave has been really rubbish recently at like recovering files. It just doesn't. But yeah, not to worry. Shit happens. You know, I don't mean this as a flex, but if I actually didn't work as fast as I did, it wouldn't be such a problem. Because the only reason it ends up becoming a problem is that I work so fast that I do loads in like 15 minutes, you know? Yeah. Like I said, not to worry. I'll just do the shapes better. I wasn't actually happy with some of the shapes. I was just kind of rushing through them. But, you know, I guess that's the universe telling me, like, hey, why are you cutting corners, Brev? Do nice shapes, bro. Save your work, bro. So we'll do better shapes. But yeah, we only got 10 more minutes anyway, so. Fine China 4. Thank you for the follow. But yeah, so I can finish this off with a cup of tea tomorrow morning or on my lunch break. Yeah, these are already nicer shapes, so. Worth. Sometimes you just gotta take the signs from Photoshop, you know. Sometimes Photoshop's just telling you, hey, you kind of goobered those shapes up. Have a hard reset from me. Right, let's save that. PSD backseating you. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. PSD was being the art director. I was like, hey, these shapes need a bit of work. How about you do them again? Yeah, we'll do the ambient occlusion shapes again as well. It's a shame. I did really like those ambient occlusion shapes. They do look kind of cool in the white. Don't they? They do look cool in the white. Definitely more punchy, let's put it that way. All right then, so what's going to happen on here? It's got to be a lot more fast food on here. There's going to be a lot more, yeah, just quickly sketch in. There's going to be like, you know, gherkins flying off. So the other, maybe we'll have a milkshake that's like spilled out everywhere, and we'll have chicken drummers, chicky nuggies, maybe some sushi for we weirdos out there, all that kind of stuff. The whole takeaway menu, and yeah, and we'll finish this up. Well, I'll finish it up. Finish it up probably tomorrow. I'll take a look at it on my lunch break. With a cup of tea or something. Finish it up, and I'll post it online. Unless you guys are like, no, finish it on stream. In which case, maybe I will, but we'll see. Kind of want to finish it because it's kind of cool. Get it out in the world. All right then. Well, thanks everyone. It's been a fun one. Sorry about the Photoshop crash. We could have almost finished it. But yeah, we'll sort it out. Anyway, thanks again for tuning in. If you want to watch the VOD back, check out YouTube afterwards. Links on the page. You can go back and watch it. We started from almost scratch today. Started with a little bit of a sketch and then went from there. And yeah, no problem. Thanks for the stream. No, thanks for tuning in. You're welcome. And I'll catch you all next week. Have a great weekend, everyone. And